Why do some married women secretly crave something more? A Stoic reflection on desire, connection, and the human condition. Why is it that some married women and men find themselves longing for something beyond the boundaries of their relationship? Is it boredom, loneliness, or is it something deeper, something ancient, something that even philosophers like the Stoics contemplated centuries ago? Today, we're peeling back the layers of this complex question. Not to judge, not to shame, but to understand. Because the truth is, this conversation isn't just about marriage. It's about human nature, emotional longing, and the inner tension between commitment and desire. Let's be clear from the start. This isn't about right or wrong. It's not about assigning blame. It's about exploring the why someone might feel drawn to seek connection or adventure outside the life they've built. When we hear about infidelity, our instinct is often to react, to criticize, to label. But Stoic philosophy invites us to pause instead, to reflect, to ask what might be driving this behavior, and what can it teach us, not just about others, but about ourselves. So today, we're going to examine this subject through the lens of Stoicism. We'll look at the roots of human desire, the pursuit of happiness, and why, even when someone seems to have it all, they might still feel like something's missing. Let's begin with the obvious question. Why does this happen? Why would someone in a committed relationship seek something or someone outside of it? It's tempting to simplify. They're bored. They're selfish. They must not love their partner anymore. But Stoicism reminds us human behavior is rarely so simple. Often, what appears as betrayal is really a symptom of something much deeper. A longing for emotional aliveness. A desire to feel seen, heard, or valued. A hunger for spontaneity in a life that's become predictable. These longings are deeply human, and they're not new. The Stoics recognize that people are driven by powerful internal forces. Desires, fears, emotions, and the unrelenting search for meaning. The problem of expectations. Many people enter marriage with a set of unspoken expectations. That it will fulfill every emotional need. That the passion will last. That the other person will always get us. But reality looks different. Relationships require patience, compromise, endurance. Over time, routines set in. Conversations can feel repetitive. Intimacy can become transactional rather than emotional. For some, this leads to a quiet ache for something more. What Stoicism teaches us. The Stoics taught that real happiness doesn't come from external sources. Not from our spouse, our possessions, or even from fleeting experiences. It comes from within. From how we perceive the world, from how we respond rather than react. When someone chases excitement outside their marriage, it's often because they've forgotten or never learned that inner peace isn't found through novelty. It's cultivated through clarity, virtue, and self-awareness. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Desire, unchecked, becomes a form of suffering, keeps us restless, unsatisfied, always seeking, never still. So why do people still chase after something new? Because they believe, even if unconsciously, that the answer to their inner emptiness lies out there, in someone else, in a new experience, in a feeling they once had but lost. But what the Stoics would argue is that what we're really searching for isn't another person. It's a part of ourselves we've lost touch with. Final thoughts. This topic may seem like it's about infidelity or marriage, but it's really about the human condition. About how we respond to unmet needs, fading passion, and emotional disconnection. Stoicism doesn't offer easy answers, but it offers powerful questions. Are we looking outward to fix an inward problem? Are we chasing desire at the cost of inner peace? And most importantly, what would it look like to meet our longing not with indulgence, but with understanding? What's missing? A Stoic reflection on desire, appreciation, and self-worth. Sometimes, even in a committed relationship, we can feel like something's missing. Maybe we feel unappreciated. Maybe the routine has dulled the excitement. Maybe we long for something new, something that makes us feel alive again. But the Stoics would challenge us to look deeper. They believed this craving, this constant hunger for more, is often the very source of our suffering. They called it epithumia, an unhealthy desire. Not the kind of desire that motivates growth, but the kind that is insatiable. No matter how much we feed it, it leaves us feeling empty. Take, for example, a woman in a marriage that feels unfulfilling. She may start seeking excitement elsewhere, perhaps through an affair, or in the pursuit of new experiences. But here's the problem. Even if she finds that spark, it doesn't last. It's like pouring water into a leaky bucket. The thrill fades, the emptiness returns, and the cycle begins again. The Stoics would say the answer isn't to chase more, it's to change the way we relate to what we already have. They called the state ataraxia, inner peace. It's not found in external pleasures or new thrills, but in a steady, grounded appreciation for the present moment. A powerful practice, negative visualization. One of the most effective Stoic practices for cultivating contentment is something called negative visualization. At first, it might sound grim. It involves imagining the loss of what you hold dear, your partner, your home, your health. But the purpose isn't to make you anxious, it's to wake you up, to help you see what's already in front of you with fresh eyes. Let's say you're in a relationship and feeling discontent. You might be focusing on what your partner isn't doing, how they've stopped complimenting you, how things feel routine. But try this instead. Imagine waking up tomorrow and they're gone. Gone from your life, your home, your routine. What would you miss? What would you regret not saying? This simple shift in thought can reignite appreciation and presence. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in ancient Rome, practiced this daily. He would imagine losing his fortune, his status, even his loved ones. Not to dwell in fear, but to anchor himself in gratitude. Because once you've contemplated losing something, you stop taking it for granted. External validation, a hollow foundation. Now let's talk about something that quietly drives many of us. The need for external validation. We all want to feel seen, appreciated, desired. And when we don't feel that in our relationships, we may start seeking it elsewhere. But here's the hard truth. When we depend on others to define our worth, we give away our power. It's like building your house on sand. Shaky, unstable, and always at risk of collapse. The Stoics called the opposite of this autarkia self-sufficiency. It's not arrogance. It's not isolation. It's knowing your worth without needing someone else to confirm it. Imagine a woman who feels invisible in her marriage. Her partner doesn't express admiration the way he once did. She starts to question her value. So she looks outward, flirting, joining a dating app, chasing that spark. For a moment, it works. She feels seen again. But underneath, the emptiness remains because the core issue isn't solved. Until she begins to see herself, to validate her own worth, that craving for external affirmation will keep returning. So how do we break the cycle? This is where Stoic discipline becomes essential. Not discipline in the harsh, rigid sense, but in the sense of daily practices that realign us with what matters most. Reflection over reaction, gratitude over longing, self-awareness over impulse. The Stoics didn't promise comfort, but they offered clarity. And clarity is what allows us to see that sometimes we're not missing something on the outside, we're disconnected from something on the inside. If you're feeling unfulfilled in your relationship, the answer may not be in changing your circumstances. It may be in learning to appreciate what you already have, to validate your own worth, and to let go of the illusion that happiness is always somewhere else. Self-discipline and the power of choice. One of the central tenets of Stoicism is self-discipline. The Stoics taught that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond. And in that response lies our true power. Let's return to our earlier example. Imagine a woman who feels neglected, restless, or emotionally disconnected in her marriage. Then, unexpectedly, someone new enters her life. Someone who makes her feel seen, alive, desired. In that moment, a choice appears. She could act on the impulse, or she could pause and ask a deeper question. Is this what I truly want? Or am I just trying to escape something within myself? This is where Stoic discipline becomes not just useful, but essential. It teaches us that impulses are not commands. Desire is not destiny. We may feel something strongly, but we are not obligated to obey it. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who was once a slave, knew this intimately. He had no control over his external circumstances, but he mastered his inner world. His teaching, freedom is the power to control your own mind. When temptation arises, whether in love, ambition, or escape, we must stop and reflect. What values matter most to me? What kind of person do I want to be? This isn't about denial. It's about alignment. Aligning your choices with your deeper principles, rather than chasing fleeting pleasure. The role of society and modern pressures. Of course, making value-driven choices is harder today than ever before. We live in a culture that glorifies more excitement, more romance, more fulfillment. We are constantly fed curated images of idealized relationships and storybook love. And when our real lives don't match the fantasy, it's easy to feel like something is wrong. But the Stoics warned us about this too. They called it fantasia, false impressions. It's the illusion that what we see is real, when in fact it's distorted by perception. Social media is a modern version of fantasia. We scroll past photos of happy couples, romantic getaways, and perfect homes, and begin to wonder, why isn't my relationship like that? But what we see is just a highlight reel, a filtered version of someone's life designed to project happiness, not necessarily reflect truth. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, knew the danger of distraction. Each night, he would journal not about what others were doing, but about his own actions, choices, and values. This practice kept him grounded in what was real. So if you feel the weight of society's expectations pressing in, ask yourself, what do I want? Not what I'm told to want, but what truly aligns with who I am. Reclaim your focus. Don't measure your life by someone else's image. Measure it by your own integrity. The power of amor fati, loving your fate. Finally, we arrive at one of the most profound ideas in Stoicism. Amor fati, love of fate. It's not just acceptance. It's embracing what is, fully and without resentment. Let's return one last time to our example. A woman feels discontent in her marriage, but instead of fleeing or resenting her circumstances, she makes a different choice. She leans in. She says, "This is my life. This is my path. And instead of wishing it were different, I'm going to make something meaningful out of it." That doesn't mean tolerating abuse or silencing your truth. It means taking ownership of your happiness, not outsourcing it to someone else or to some imagined ideal. Amor fati is powerful because it allows us to find value, even in struggle. It teaches us to turn difficulty into wisdom and boredom into awareness. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, lost everything in a shipwreck. His response, "Fortune has brought me to a better course. Now I can study philosophy." And through that loss, he found his life's purpose. So if you feel stuck, emotionally, relationally, spiritually, don't ask only how to escape. Ask how to grow. Ask how to bring more presence, more gratitude, and more intention to what you already have. Because sometimes, the path to fulfillment isn't in finding something new. It's in rediscovering the value of what's already yours. This is my life. This is my path. And rather than wishing it away, I will make something beautiful from it. That doesn't mean enduring pain in silence. It doesn't mean staying in something toxic. It means owning your role in your own story and choosing to meet it with purpose, not escape. Amor fati invites us to find depth in discomfort, to discover clarity in chaos. It asks us to stop chasing a life we think we're supposed to have and start honoring the one we're actually living. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, was shipwrecked and lost everything. His response, "Fortune has done me a favor. Now I can begin my real journey." He didn't curse fate. He partnered with it. And in doing so, he found his purpose. So if you're feeling lost, whether in love, in life, or within yourself, pause before you flee. Ask not only how to escape the moment, but how to engage with it more fully. Because often, fulfillment doesn't come from finding something new. It comes from learning to see old things with new eyes.